this writing system in Chinese, when it kind of tended to really distant further and further from Chinese, then it's practically just ceased to exist and ceased practically evaporated from this just everyday usage and was not really that widely used at it. That's for just this kind of mixed type of writing system. So that's as far as Vietnam is concerned. And what about how widely circulated this kind of mixed writing system were in, for example, Korea and Japan?
So by mixed writing system, you mean on the one hand writing in Chinese?
Yes, you just want to
yes, I probably would say that there's definitely a division.
Are they still going to consider it as kind of marginal or something like that? Or?
Yeah, I wouldn't call that. I would say that they had a division of labor. That, for example, when writing texts that were meant to be recited as Japanese, for example, when you write poems, you were always using the vernacular language and were using more phonographic script because the orality was such an important aspect of that text. But if you don't need it to be pronounced exactly that way, then you didn't use the phonograms, then you were using more logograms. Yes, so there were definitely some needs for using the vernacular Japanese, and not only like it was not the case that when they were writing, they were always using Chinese. So they had definitive parts in writing where they were always using Japanese. Yes.
And sometimes even Japanese.
Yes.
We were writing something just about Japanese history, something they were like predominantly writing in Chinese. About histories and that.
Well, yeah, in certain aspects, like everything that has to do with China, it was preferred. When you write about China, you write in Chinese. But not for all topics you always wanted to write in Chinese. There are, like, for example, poems, as I said, or letters, for example. Letters were often done in Japanese, but then with a different script. That looked like Chinese, so they tried to imitate Chinese writing even when they wanted to write Japanese, because it was of course easier to write for them in Japanese because it's their native language, but still they wanted to look like as they were writing Chinese because it's so highly prestigious.
Ну что ж, тогда еще раз спасибо. Куда же?
On-off.